So let's just kind of do this like this part up top, so it'll be like an easy cut for Naveen. Andy,
Yes.
you being sort of like the Hitman video game expert, just a couple quick questions up top for you. Fundamentals. Somebody actually playing the Hitman game for like the video, for like the Hitman video game for the first time. What are the core things in a mission that you're supposed to accomplish? What's the stuff you do to get yourself like the best score?
Okay. Well, I mean, obviously, the main goal is to kill the targets that you're assigned. That's obvious. Mm-hmm. Doing it with the least amount of scrutiny gets you more points. So the more incognito you can be, the more points you can get.
Right.
The more creative your assassination is, mm-hmm. the better your score can be.
Right.
That's all sort of the procedural, almost boring aspect of the game.
Right.
The way more fun. Maybe I shouldn't jump to this yet, but there is a way more fun way to play the game, mm-hmm. at least for me.
Right.
That typically winds up with me getting the lowest possible score, but having the most possible fun.
Uh-huh. So that's kind of the sandboxy approach, like the chaos approach. But like when you're playing, when you're playing the game as the way to kind of maximize your score, and like an interesting kind of cool part of the game is it just kind of like, you know, the scoring thing is there to kind of give yourself like a metrics to kind of play against, but you can completely ignore it if you want. But ideally, let's kind of go down like your list real quick again, like you said.
So you've got the main part of the mission, which is just to hit the targets.
Right.
Pick out the correct targets.
Mm-hmm. No collateral damage.
Yeah. So the least amount of collateral damage possible. Mm-hmm. The most amount of, I guess, stealth.
Sure. Nobody sees your face. Nobody recognizes like the stuff that you're doing.
Yep. Let's see what else. And I have to be honest, I haven't played it in probably well over a year at this point. So now I'm trying to go back.
Right. But there's also kind of one thing you're skipping. It's not so much kind of for scoring, but like after you kind of actually sort of get the target yourself, there's a thing that you actually have to do successfully to like end the stage, correct?
I mean, escape.
Escape, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's true, yeah. So at the end, you have to get out, you have to get off this or away from the scene, mm-hmm. you know, without being detected or at the very least without getting killed.
Right. Okay. So I just kind of wanted to, you know, just throw those questions out there as a way to kind of give our listeners like a little bit of kind of like a taste of just kind of the like kind of the subject matter expertise, kind of like the knowledge that you kind of like that you bring to this game, and kind of like at least like the fundamentals of it. Because ladies and gentlemen, I'm very excited to announce, I'm kind of dropping him on this a little bit, but we're going to do a segment at the end of the pod called Andy Presents Luigi Mangione Bitch Ass Noob, where we actually take his education from this game and we try and we consider sort of the real world scenarios, and we examine kind of some of the fundamentals. And Andy's going to break down for us, based on his expertise, how aspects of just that whole thing were kind of correctly executed, and but how things could have been kind of tweaked to sort of give us like a more optimal outcome.
So Andy, where do you get the blueprints again to make a silencer? Like a 3D printed silencer? You just find that online, right? You just do a search for it.
Yeah, there's got to be a way to do it. You can do.
You can just say the dark web.
But wait, what?
Look, you go on 4chan. You pay $25 to this guy named
For
Rio.
the podcast listeners now, Andy is looking to the left and the right like he literally wants to escape.
I don't even know what to make of this.
Andy Presents Luigi Mangione Bitch Ass Noob.
But I am completely. I mean, I know like the very
ghosts?
high level information about what happened with this dude.
There are ghosts, right?
Right.
And that's it. That's all I know.
He's a ghost.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
the guy's not there.
There was no costume changes. There was no hiding out in the tall grass.
Well, there might. I mean, we don't know that. There might have been.
Yeah, we don't know that. Yeah, you're right. This should probably actually be like a full pod. Naveen, cut all of this.
Mario.
Mario.
Mario. What is Yoshi? Is he a dinosaur or an iguana?
39.
I still don't know.
Welcome to episode 39 of Rebels Without a Pod, the show that dares ask the question. Wait, hold up. Wait. Are you saying that a shrimp fried this rice?
What?
And further head shaking, further questions. I texted the group chat earlier. I'm like, guys, I'm in a mood tonight, just so you know.
Yeah.
You did say that.
You're
Okay.
super friendly.
My name is John, and joining me tonight, Andy, who does our artwork and graphic design.
What's up, everybody?
And also assassination debriefs.
Apparently, yeah, I'm the expert on assassination now.
You're the go-to guy, because you're
Good
the
to
guy
know.
we go to.
Yeah, thanks for
Good to
teaching me
know.
how to play Assassin's Creed, Andy. That was real cool of you.
Yeah, well, you're blowing my cover though on my expertise. This is throwing a real monkey wrench into my side.
We'll just only post this one on the dark web. How about that?
That's good. Appreciate that.
Also joining Pod Daddy Eric, aka Bokuwa Dracula-kun.
Howdy, folks.
Our co-host and audio engineer Naveen will not be joining tonight. I got a message from him. He's apparently okay. I'm just going to read this verbatim. He's currently being questioned by the Federal Doge Task Force as to whether he joined this podcast as a DEI hire. We are hoping that'll be able to return next week.
All right, so this is the point we cut the episode, right?
Well, if we don't do it, somebody will do it for us anyway. So
Yeah, Naveen, don't worry. John's just a little randy tonight. So
Right.
let him get it out.
Mm-hmm. First ever podcast to get like a copy strike from one of their own co-hosts.
I like how Johnny's trying to outdo me. Like this is my bit. I'm usually the one that says
It's
something.
always your bit.
They do some weird, funky shit, and nobody can follow it, and you're like, you've got problems. I can't understand what you're even saying half the time.
Right.
And then you're like, no, this is my time. All these quarters, they're all mine. These are all
It just
mine.
maybe
my
because
wishes.
I haven't had a haircut in like a month and a half, and maybe this is just what maybe I don't know. Maybe it's like I'm not getting enough oxygen in my brain. Like I don't know how hair works.
So you're technically like if I'm Matt Damon and Andy is Ben Affleck, then you're J-Fro. See, there you go.
This is the point we cut the podcast. All right. Yeah.
Maybe I was the DEI hire.
yeah,
He's challenged. We got to get him out.
yeah.
I can't control air traffic. Sorry. Get him out.
You're the equivalent of that guy that bags the groceries.
Yeah. Would you like paper or plastic? Double bags for you.
Oh, chicken gyoza. Very, very cool. Good stuff. On a Tuesday night.
You work at Trader Joe's.
No, I've gotten to the point with Trader Joe's. I don't even take my headphones off.
Hey man, check out the veggie bows.
Yeah.
It's mostly.
Have you tried these
mostly
yet?
onion.
These are delicious.
I just pull out my credit card and nod. I'm like, it just can't do anything.
Almond
Can't do
milk.
anything.
What is this shit?
Tonight, we are pausing our video game adaptation cycle for a one-off pod we're calling Agent Briefing. First off, since we're soon covering the 2007 Hitman film, Andy and I, as fans, will be pitching the video game to Eric in hopes that he'll give it a try. After that, we're going to be doing a couple open swim segments where Andy and Eric will have chosen discussion topics. We have to stay on for at least 30 minutes. It should be fun. So, gentlemen, any sort of business up top, or do you just want to kind of get right into like the Hitman pitch?
I'm happy to jump right into the Hitman pitch. Mine is maybe a little on the long side, so maybe we
Sweet.
save some room for it.
We can do that.
Okay.
I mean, I was gonna talk about a show I watched recently, but
Okay.
Good.
yeah.
Good.
So, I think I mentioned to John today. So you know when you do searches online, I think I must have done like a search for Adult Swim shows recently or something like that, and then that show Common Side Effects popped up. I don't know if you guys have heard about it.
That's a relatively recent Adult Swim show, right?
Yeah, it just started 2 weeks ago, I believe. You can find it on Max. They have 3 episodes out so far, but it was, I guess it was a show that it was created by Mike Judge. And what's that guy's name? Greg Daniels, I think. It's both of the people that co-creators of King of the Hill. And so,
sure.
Yeah, so they came up with this idea for a new show. Just like a brief synopsis, it's about some guy who he's an expert at mushrooms, and he's out in Peru doing these studies, trying to find this like I guess word came out of this like blue mushroom. It's kind of like an urban myth that it can cure anything pretty much. And the guy's out in Peru, he finds it, and from that point on, I guess the government is after him because they figure if this comes out that he has this mushroom,
this is going to like overturn the entire pharmaceutical.
He can reproduce it. He can overturn the pharmaceutical industry. Just all these things, like the insurance industry, everything will just kind of like explode. And so the government's after him, but he comes across this old high school friend that from back in the day, and she's actually like I think she's like a secretary or something, or maybe she's like she works directly with the CEO of another pharmaceutical company that's kind of going under. And so when they cross paths, the guy tells her kind of like, hey, I got this mushroom, it can like heal people and all this kind of stuff, and she gets it in her head that maybe this can save her company. But at the same time, just like chaos breaks loose. So it's nothing like King of the Hill at all. It's fairly serious, and there's some levity here or there. I think it's too soon to tell if it's like really good, but it's pretty engaging. Again, only 3 episodes, and a lot of
so being a Mike Judge show and being an Adult Swim show, I would have just assumed like this is a parody about sort of people taking psychedelics and sort of drug culture. So, but this is actually sounds like a serious, straight ahead kind of like sort of thriller / kind of critique of American health insurance and pharma.
It's something that you'd expect to find on like Netflix.
Sure.
It is pretty serious. People are getting killed every episode, so it is pretty violent too. Like you'll see somebody get shot in the head, and then it's just like blood gushing everywhere, and so it makes you think of like maybe like an anime they would show late at night or something like that. It could be like a Cowboy Bebop or something like that. But I thought that was a pretty cool concept. I'm gonna stick with it and see how it goes. But you can tell right away the CEO of like the failing pharmaceutical company. It's voiced by Mike Judge.
Okay.
And right away he's like, Bobby, I don't think the company's gonna last much longer.
Have you heard about chlamydia, Bobby?
Were you boys whacking off of my shed again?
I work with a guy named Bob, and every time I go to address him, in my head I say, hey, Bobby. But I don't say that to him because he's like in his 60s and he's definitely not going to get it.
Yeah.
Right.
But I laugh inside my head anyway.
You've just had like that. Yeah. Just it's one of those things that you're just like, your name is just Bob, an unfortunate name from King of the Hill, also kind of like not like the best name from Office Space, Same kind of thing for the 2 Bobs.
Yeah. Bob.
Yeah. Andy, any sort of recent sort of TV or film or anything else that you kind of want to shout out?
I mean, I'm still working my way through The Good Place. I'm in the 3rd season, and thoroughly enjoying it. I think it's just a lot of fun. Really like the character Janet, who's like she's not a robot, she's not a woman, she's basically just like Siri for heaven. Right. I like Jason, who's the really dumb Asian guy. Anyway, so I've been thoroughly enjoying that.
The full cast is incredible. Yeah.
And I started, I think maybe I mentioned this already, I can't remember now, but I started AP Bio.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
which is Glenn Howerton from
Glenn Howerton and Patton Oswalt, like a thing I've just
It's Always
never
Sunny.
dipped my toes into, despite that being like the Patton's probably like a lifetime favorite comedian for me. Howerton's amazing in everything that he does. Like,
it's really good, and it's funny too. Like his character has a lot of similarities to his character on Always Sunny, which I've mentioned in the past. I'm not a big fan of.
Really?
Yeah, and I should be, and I've tried watching it like 3 or 4 different times.
Sunny is one of these funny ones that I feel like if it only had run 4 seasons, done like a BBC very kind of confined run, I think for me it would be one of the best television shows of all time.
You're the one who got me into that show.
Yeah,
I didn't stick with it. I guess there's people that still love it and still.
It's now the longest running American live action comedy of all time. It blew it years ago. It sort of.
I figured something like The Office would have been that. Like that Office would never die. But I mean, the cast all went off and did their own things, and they made a shit ton more money doing what they did post Office. So
right.
I wish I liked Always Sunny, because it really it should be something that I enjoy, but it's just for whatever reason it doesn't hit with me. But the character that he plays in AP Bio is, kind of scuzzy, a little bit of a shithead, very egotistical, very self-absorbed, but also with like a heart that he doesn't necessarily, at least that I haven't seen him have in Always Sunny. It's fun. It's a fun show. And like there's other characters on it that kind of just add to it and just make it a little more fun. So I've been enjoying that so far. I don't think it would be for everybody. I mean, you have to really like, just like the average sitcom kind of thing, in the same way that if you like, if you liked The Middle or Modern Family or, New Girl, or it's got like a similar kind of.
It's a show that's well done, but kind of pitched at that level. It's not too.
Is it
it's
like
it's not something.
it's an
It's not
NBC
challenging.
show or something like that, or ABC, or where do they air it, or is it directly?
I'm watching it on Netflix,
Netflix,
so I don't even know.
Okay, but if it has that feel to it.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, it's it's polished. It's multicam. Some of the premises are a little far. Well, actually, the whole premise is very far fetched. But anyway, it's a lot of fun, and there's some fun characters and some very funny parts to it. So I've been liking that, but otherwise, I haven't had a ton of time lately for that stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Just think about kind of sort of like random sort of shout outs for me. I'm not watching like a ton of TV, but sort of since getting back from Japan, I've had the chance to catch up on a few movies. Nosferatu was the first thing I watched.
That sounds
absolutely fantastic.
I'm dying. I gotta see it while it's at theaters.
It's really, really good. But like the thing I kind of want to mention on like the podcast quickly, a movie that almost kind of slid under my radar is this recent kind of sci-fi horror comedy thriller called The Companion. I don't know if you guys have like heard about this, but
Just from you.
Yeah.
From the poster, it looks like it's something about Mormons or something about housewife of the 50s. But then I found out it's actually the plot of the film. It's about a sex robot who gets her software jailbroken by her owner and then accidentally stabs a dude to death. So it's like the robot's owner and his friends just trying to deal with the fallout of that. Stars Sophie Thatcher, who I guess was on Yellowstone. Jack Quaid from The Boys, he plays Huey. He's like the robot's owner, and Harvey Guillen, he plays Gizmo on What We Do in the Shadows. He's like just one of the buddies, and it is one of the best things that I've kind of like seen in the new year so far.
Dude, not Yellowstone.
Funny.
Yellow Jackets.
Yellow Jackets.
That's a show I really want to get into. I don't know if it's good or not, but like the whole premise intrigues me.
Right.
But,
Which one's Yellow Jackets?
It's the one. It's like shit. What is it? It's like a group of girls.
It's like a girls'
plane
soccer
crash
team.
or
They
something like
get
that.
the plane crash the mountain, and then it's like there's something may have happened
kind of
while they're
thing.
waiting to get rescued.
Yeah, they're in the
I
woods.
don't even
They
think
gotta
I've ever heard
survive.
of this.
Yeah.
Things are trying to kill them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've ever even heard of this. It looks kind of interesting.
I forget where I saw it advertised, but it just looked like it. The thing is you'll see it, like you'll flick past it on like it's on like Max or Netflix or something like that, and you're like, I don't know what that is. That's like some teen drama,
Right. And then you look it up, critically lauded,
Yeah.
hugely accomplished. big kind of jumping off point for like a lot of people's careers from that.
It makes me think of like what was that show called? Was it the 100? I think it is.
Yeah.
Where it's like all those people that come to Earth and then they have to survive. It's same thing but different, or maybe like Lost is like a better example. It's kind of like you're stuck in the wilderness in the middle of nowhere. There's no life around you at all except for just like who knows, smoke monsters and other weird shit that you can't explain.
Was Companion was it a movie?
Yeah, it's still out in the theaters right now.
Oh, okay. For some reason, in my head I thought it was a show, a TV show.
Mm-hmm.
It does look interesting.
Did you see anybody at the movie theater with a companion?
I just try to block other people out.
I mean, it's Vegas, so I mean, somebody showing up to a movie theater with like a real doll, and they're like, "She's pretty for me."
The top-rated review of Companion on Letterboxd by like a mile is just somebody who said, "Robot Sophie Thatcher, I would treat you so much better than that." Anyway, well, let's move on. Let's get into like our Hitman pitches. So, Andy,
hit me.
As a professional salesman of the group, why don't you start us off?
So, do I have to decide who has a better pitch here?
You certainly can.
Just we're just keep in mind we're both your friends.
Do you want me to tell you afterwards, like how you guys did, or I can give you? Should I say like it's like B tier or A tier or S tier?
How about you give us a mission rating from like 1 to 5 stars?
1 to 5 stars. Okay. Okay, I can do that. Yeah. I just won't tell
you.
you.
Yeah, I think you have to hear both pitches first.
I'll do it really quietly. So you can't hear it until like you play back this later and you turn up the volume really loud.
Right. We'll have to go through Naveen to actually get your scores. I think makes sense.
He didn't even answer the question.
And the ballot
kind of mumbled.
Yeah, both of you guys kind of sucked. I don't know.
Bobby.
Andy, go for it.
All right. I'm gonna try to do the accent on top of it.
Oh, nice.
Good evening, 47. We've received intelligence on a target whose continued existence threatens the success of a struggling independent record store located in Delaware in the United States of America. You are tasked with eliminating Warren Wahlberg, a former petty thief turned overly enthusiastic, impulsive, self-proclaimed bad boy, part-time employee at Empire Records located in suburban Delaware in the United States of America. His primary role is causing chaos, interrupting customers with ill-timed jokes, and occasionally terrorizing the local music scene by playing music that most people can only describe as, quote, rap, metal, and Whitney Houston. Background. Warren is 17 years old, and unfortunately, he is at the peak of his rebellious phase. His idea of being an adult includes dressing like he just crawled out of bed and making awkward attempts to be edgy. He doesn't do much work at the record store besides disrupting the daily flow of normality by constantly reminding everyone how cool and misunderstood he is. His relationship with authority? Hostile. His sense of humor? Incredibly juvenile. His main weapons? A loud mouth and a questionable taste in music. He's recently been disrupting the store more than usual, with his penchant for making bad jokes, pranking coworkers, including accidentally taking the store hostage with a toy gun, and constantly trying to undermine the store manager. We're concerned he may soon escalate to a full-on disaster. Mission objective. Primary target. Eliminate Warren before his antics cause a catastrophic meltdown at Empire Records. We can't risk another prank gone too far. Discretion is optional. He has a tendency to make a scene anyway. Secondary objective. Retrieve any valuable information on his plans for ruining everything, which as of now seems to involve playing prank after prank and somehow managing to not get fired. This could help us understand how far his chaotic tendencies go and whether his future plans involve sabotaging more local businesses. Potential methods of elimination. 1. The over-the-top prank. Warren thinks he's an expert in the art of pranking, but let's see if you can one-up him. Consider supergluing quarters to the floor throughout the store. When the target bends down to pry one up, bludgeon him to death with Mark's mop. 2. The, quote, accidental record player meltdown. Rig one of the store's vintage record players to spin at 100 times its normal revolutions per minute, so when Warren attempts to play some obscure Whitney Houston B-side, for his girlfriend, the album flies off the turntable and severs his carotid artery. 3. Disguise. Disguise yourself as Rex Manning, the washed-up 1980s pop idol holding an autograph session at the store for fans of his latest album, Back with More. Lure Warren into the break room by telling him that Eddie brought in some of his famous brownies for the special occasion. When Warren's back is turned, stab him with dead hair scissors. 4. Poisoning. Warren clearly loves his energy drinks. Slip a comedically large dose of Corey's Speed into Warren's favorite ultra-caffeinated soft drink and wait for him to have a massive heart attack. Environmental considerations. Warren is frequently surrounded by the same group of employees, which means getting him alone for a clean elimination might be a challenge. But don't worry, this isn't your first assignment, Agent 47. You know how to make a scene and leave without a trace. There are countless distractions in the store. Records, ballerinas, symbolic funerals for suicidal teenaged employees, Joe's test pair, and far too many bottles of blue cheese dressing. Use these as cover, but be mindful that any outlandish behavior may be met with zero surprise by anyone who has worked or shopped at Empire Records long enough. Escape plan. Once Warren is incapacitated, the chaos his elimination creates, along with the influx of customers attracted by the impromptu concert on the roof of the building, will make it very easy for you to slip away unnoticed. If things get too crazy, you can always disguise yourself as Odorous Arungus, former lead singer of the American heavy metal band Gwar, or hide in the broom closet until the heat dies down. Good luck, Agent. While this mission may not be the most glamorous, think of it as a training exercise in how to deal with youthful exuberance and chaotic energy. Sometimes, taking out the biggest troublemakers in the world of retail is just as important as your usual high-profile targets. The end.
Magnificent.
Wow.
Beautifully
Wow.
done.
I mean, you will lose a little points because the accent went away after like
Definitely
5 seconds.
to go at the end there, yeah. It got tiring. I didn't want to
None
do
of us are professionally trained. Andy, I love that. I would have loved that under any circumstance. I love that, just especially because yesterday I started the Hitman mission at the Bangkok hotel where they give different names to it, but basically you have to sneak into the hotel and assassinate Jared Leto and optionally the management from 30 Seconds to Mars.
Yep.
They're under vaguely different names, but it's basically the same thing. Yeah.
I think that's my favorite mission in the entire game. I think
Really? Yeah.
it's way up there for me.
It's something special.
Yeah, it's really good.
Fantastic.
What are you even talking? Morbius? Who? He can't die.
Dude, you got to play this
Starve
game.
him.
Yeah, you got to play this game. All right.
You got to play it.
All right. So the
All right.
thing that I wrote for this is an account of trying to 100% one of the beginner levels while I was just in the midst of bronchitis and taking like a shitload of cough syrup.
All right. Do the accent. So you got an accent for this, right?
I don't have an accent because this is entirely written in first person. This is all in my own voice.
John, come on, John. John, for the brainworm. Do it for the brainworm, John.
All right. So this is a piece called The 14 Deaths of Alma Renaud. Hawke's Bay, New Zealand. The assassin makes landfall in the pre-dawn hours, beaching his twin-engine runabout in a secluded spot on the moonlit shore. He is alone among the whistling sand dunes, rustling clusters of tall sagebrush, and decaying driftwood heaps. The beach house, a modernist two-story villa, is just a short jog to the south. No vehicles are visible in the long driveway, and the floor-to-ceiling windows are dark. Alma Renaud, vast separatist, anti-corporate revolutionary, and eco-terrorist, will not be home a short while yet. Alma is tonight's contracted target, and the assassin has time to plan. The writer is also awake in the pre-dawn hours. He has been coughing up a lung since 1 a.m., and the medley of over-the-counter drugs taken between 6 swigs of Gatorade have mitigated things only a little. Making matters worse, he's in the initial days of severe jet lag, and despite being sick, he's not just awake, but productively awake. Awake in a way that your brain insists upon. Laundry and unpacking is finished, the apartment tidied up, the grocery store not open another 5 hours. Time has to be filled, so the writer decides in honor of the King of Kong podcast to 100% level on his recently purchased copy of Hitman. The levels of Hitman are clockwork designs, internationally set Rube Goldberg machines of stealth and violence. Multiple playthroughs of levels are encouraged, each new run peeling back the interconnectedness of the story and setting. Progression is breadcrumbed along by in-game achievements, awarded to the player for exploration, discovery, and, most importantly, creative kills of the target. The writer decides to attempt the Hawke's Bay level Night Call, which lets the player explore the darkened beach house prior to the arrival of Alma and her cadre of mercenaries. His goal, earn all the single-player achievements before the real-world sun comes up. Accomplishing this ultimately takes 14 runs through the stage. What follows is a very brief summary of each. Run number 1. You trigger the arrival of Alma and her entourage by hacking into her laptop. This manual trigger gives you prep time to reconnoiter the house, collect equipment, and set traps. The upstairs bathtub offers a great hiding spot behind the broad clawfoot tub. I wait till Alma is brushing her teeth and then garrote her with a braid of fiber wire. I hired a corpse in the bedroom vanity and slip off the rear balcony into the sagebrush, vanishing out into the night. Run number 2. When Alma returns to the house, she's accompanied by a couple dozen mercenaries and a right-hand man / situationship, Orson Mills. Orson showers while Alma brushes her teeth, the fogged walls of the stall obscuring each other from view. I earned 3 in-game achievements by stabbing Orson in the neck with a kitchen knife and then Alma with a pair of scissors. Run number 3. This time, Alma and Orson live long enough to finish their nighttime routine. Despite both being obviously attractive, they collapse sexlessly, wordlessly into bed, and the lights of the house go dim. I take out 2 guards on the roof and then headshot Alma through the glass skylight with my suppressed .22. Orson does not awaken. Run number 4. The guards keep referring to an escaped creature called Max, who is either Alma's homicidal mutant brother or a giant feral dog. Max has piqued my curiosity. This will be my ninja assassin run. Alma, Orson, and 8 guards are killed silently with the katana and shuriken I found in the second-story weapons cache. Playing this game, I realize, may not be mentally healthy. Run number 5. We can't keep Max inside, says one of the guards. Last time we locked him in the garage, he ate half a bicycle and 2 tires off the SUV. I am stoked to eventually find Max. Some good kills in this one. Knowing Orson has a nightcap before bed, I poison his whiskey with cyanide, then shove Alma off the balcony while she's smoking a joint. Run number 6. I slit Alma's throat with a ceremonial Japanese tanto while she's brushing her teeth. Still no sign of Max. My real-life cough returns with a fury, sleep nowhere on the horizon. I find it amusing that only one of the hired goons has an actual New Zealand accent. The rest might as well be from Gotham City. Every stealth takedown should be met with, "It's the bat!" Run number 7. I run recon on the heavily patrolled first floor of the house. Confirmed from an overheard conversation that Max is likely a dog, although the game leaves in some level of ambiguity. I work my way up to the roof, lob a frag grenade onto the front lawn, and poison the HVAC intake while Alma hides out in the safe room. Run number 8. Orson seems like a good boyfriend. He makes tea for Alma while she places a call blackmailing the father of the family that they've just kidnapped. Honey or sugar is offered. Alma picks sugar. That is noted for later. I smother Alma to death with a pillow while Orson snores quietly. This is my fastest run in 8 minutes, 15 seconds. I note to later look up the standing world record. Max has still not made an appearance. Run number 9. Alma has the sexiest voice. Part theatric British, a touch Northern Spain, all psycho Tom Clancy villain. I have heard her repeatedly threaten to execute the hostage family in the grisliest ways imaginable. Orson alludes several times to more serious feelings for her, which Alma coolly ignores. Cyanide has been mixed into the sugar he will use for her tea. I'm running back down the beach as she dies of convulsive spasms. Turns out at higher difficulty settings, Alma will randomly sometimes choose honey. Run number 10. I make a full circuit of the Hawke's Bay map trying to find Max. No luck. After the guards finish their sweep of the second floor, I plant a C4 proximity mine in front of Alma's full-length boudoir mirror. She dies while changing into her pajamas. "Comb the beaches," the guards scream as I escape yet again. I laugh thinking about that joke from Spaceballs.
We ain't found
Run number
shit.
11.
We ain't
Run
found
number 11. I blast 5 guards with a shotgun and drown Alma in the toilet after spiking her sugar with rat poison. Curiosity gets the best of me, and I finally Google how to find Max. Turns out Max is just a clever writing trick to let the NPCs rationalize any destruction you wreak at the beach house prior to their arrival. To test this, I shoot out Alma's aquarium and both big screen televisions. Fucking Max, mutter the guards when they get home. This revelation hits hard. I am Max. Max.
Max Wahlberg.
Run number 12. More coughing, more medicine. I may have fallen in love with Alma. Her gorgeous voice slithers and sings, slices and soothes. She is like a cobra, napping in a big fuzzy slipper. Her repeated executions have started to bring me less and less joy. From my notes on this playthrough, what does vengeful God next demand? This time I kill her with an exploding rubber duck. Run number 13. I look up the British actress who plays Alma. She is predictably adorable. My co-host, when I share her photos, will describe her as a mix of Linda Cardellini and Janine Garofalo. She has voiced a character in a Peppa Pig video game and played Perdita in a 2018 Globe Theatre production of The Winter's Tale. This run, Alma dies of a snapped neck, again while brushing her teeth. I may be deadlier to this woman than the gum disease gingivitis. Run number 14, final run. I retrieve the Jaeger 7 sniper rifle stashed at a dilapidated shack near the beach house and wait a full 10 real-time minutes in the sagebrush for Alma to step out for a smoke. The cough medicine has left me with very shaky thumbs, and I must reload my save 3 times in order to get in a proper headshot. With this kill, I clear every single player achievement possible on the stage. The complete emptiness I feel is desperate, near total. After finishing this, I pull up YouTube and find Nightcall is a topic of some fascination for Hitman fans. The fastest the level has been completed, remember my record was 8 minutes 15 seconds. The fastest has been completed was in 1 minute 10 seconds. Involves tossing out a flashbang grenade and sliding down the staircase banister like Jackie Chan in Police Story, capping Alma in the face as you hoof it out the front door. No question, even now, some maniac is trying to crack a sub 60-second run. Execution montages for this stage are legion. The community was rocked by the discovery some years back that with very serious prep work and effort, Alma can be chased into the Pacific Ocean and drowned. She's been through enough for one night, I decide. As the real world sun starts to rise, I turn off the TV and then head to bed.
How nice of you, you fucking sicko. Jesus Christ. Like, once wasn't enough. I need to perfect this one.
She's once, twice, 14 times.
Murdered.
Half an
Well
hour,
done.
like, fucking honey again? Come on. Just take the sugar.
Right. That laugh
Well done,
got me a
Johnny.
little
That was
reducing
good.
noise pop up on my thumbnail. Amazing. All right.
John, this I was going to say this mission doesn't exist. That's not actually part of Hitman. I think it was just something that you were.
Are you saying I hallucinate the whole thing on Robitussin?
The whole thing.
Yeah, that was definite Robo High.
Okay. They sent police to my house. RoboCop was the arresting officer.
Yeah, Jackie Chan came in through the skylight as like he's in Police Story.
Yeah. Later I'm going to share the 1 minute 10-second run on the group chat because you watch it and all I can hear is like Three Stooges noises the entire time. Like as he's like kind of sliding down, he's like sliding down like the banister, and he's just kind of run past Alma. He's like pop. All I can hear is like.
Oh, Professor Zoidberg.
What a game.
Yeah, that's what a finish, Johnny.
It really is a truly great game. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god. I don't know, Andy. I think we should take your pitch and send it to developer and see if they can create a DLC or something.
They're still actively making DLC somewhat free for this game. They tried to turn it kind of into like a live service game.
Yeah.
What's kind of interesting about like this series is like the main missions that you have on it are reproduced and refined missions from like all like the previous Hitman games that you have. So when you get like the latest one that came out, I think in 2022, you got missions from Hitman 1, Hitman 2, Hitman 3 that have been iterated on and kind of like just refined and improved several times, like over like the course of this company's history.
I didn't even know. Like, I remember the game coming out in what, like the 2010s or something like that. What was it? Was it like PS2? Maybe PS3? Tops?
That sounds. I think the
Something
first
like that,
one might have been 2008, 2009 ish.
Okay. I didn't even know they made more than one. I could imagine them being like, all right, Hitman 1 was fine. It was kind of glitchy. It'd be like the first Resident Evil. You're like, all right, we got something here. People seem to respond to it. Let's make a sequel. We'll clean it up. We'll make, better missions. But the fact that they just kept going, and maybe there's a trilogy, and they
but it's like the fact that they kind of kept going, but they kind of kept going back to old source material and improving it. Like it's hard to like overstate how elegant like these designs are, how beautiful the graphics is, how surprisingly good the writing and like the voice acting in this thing, like the whole thing. Like when you play a Hitman level, Andy, maybe you can confirm this, the least fun you have is the first time you pass through the level, because you just have no idea of just anything that's kind of going on. And then
absolutely,
and
he's such an odd character too, like because he's this trained assassin since birth kind of thing and whatever. Like he's practically robotic. He has zero personality. He is not charismatic in any way. He walks with perfect posture very slowly.
He's kind of a cipher. He's such a nothing character that it just sort of lets like the player just kind of just easily kind of place themselves and kind of choose what he's doing.
Yeah, it's just really, I don't know. I've watched a lot of videos of people playing through the game with sort of like the Rift Tracks version of it. And just talking being the Hitman character, and I am the Hitman, just with zero affect whatsoever. I don't know, it's just it's a lot of fun, and like I said before, like some of the best parts of the game are just fucking around and like seeing what you can get away with. Like there are certain stages that if you kill like literally everybody in the stage, including all of the NPCs that have nothing to do with it, that you get like, different voiceovers from the narrator. It's just, there's all sorts of stuff that's sort of buried within the game that you don't have to do. Most people would never do. But it's just really fun to do.
And what is so wild about it, if you can imagine a solution or you can imagine an approach in your head, it will probably work, because like the design of these things has been so fine tuned at this point, and everything that kind of happens in like the level design and in the mechanics and how the characters behave and how like the different kind of weapons and traps and everything else works, that it's just the way everything kind of interlocks together, it all works in a way that's rewarding, because it's incredibly consistent. If you think like a particular plan, if you know the game well and you come up with a plan, that plan will probably fall together, even if it seems like a little overcomplicated or like far-fetched.
Yep. So and like the variety of weapons you can use through it to like do damage and or kill. I wrote down just a very small cross section: exploding rubber duck, which Johnny mentioned, a giant silver fish that you can keep on your person, which of course you're not carrying a bag or anything like that. It's all just sort of like in your like, I don't even know, in your suit somewhere. I don't know.
Fish. Like, okay, you mean like the bug that likes to eat books, or like just a big fish that's silver?
A giant fish.
That you just slap somebody with it.
Literally just hit him with a giant fish.
She's almost reading her book, and it just starts disintegrating in her hands, and she's just like, what the fuck? And then just like this, I don't know, a trout flies through the air and slaps her in the side of the head. Kind
of. You can use coconuts from a coconut tree. You can kill people with a toilet, actually several toilets. You can get dressed in a giant pink flamingo mascot costume. You can kill people with muffins, with a pile of manure, with a giant blender. Clown costume.
If you max out your level in the Parisian fashion show stage, you are awarded a little Napoleon a little Napoleon doll that you can sort of build with C4. You can detonate remotely. In the game, it's called the Napoleon Blown Apart.
Oh yeah, you mentioned that.
So good.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Anyway, I feel like we've sold you on it.
Yeah. If I get time, I'll check it out. I mean, so tell me this. It sounds like it's sort of open-ended on how you can kill people. Like you're given a mission, but as long as you succeed in killing somebody, however you do it, it's cool. But maybe you don't achieve like maximum points or something.
That's
correct.
Right.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of like GTA.
It does a really
or...
good tightrope walk between it awards a certain version of a playthrough that there's no detection and no collateral damage, but you can technically, at like the Parisian fashion show, there's something like 100 active characters. You can work with like another 300 or 400 the crowd, and there are YouTube montages, people kind of going to the fashion show and murdering everybody.
Oh wow!
And then escaping the level, and then still technically passing.
So is it like you jump from mission to mission, or is it kind of like a open world thing like Fallout or something like that?
There's an order you're encouraged to play in.
Okay.
And as you play in like a certain order, you see kind of like a backstory panned together, but it's honestly maybe the least interesting part of the entire game.
Yeah. It makes me think of like, so I played the Tomb Raider games growing up. And for those, it's always at like the mansion. You're at the mansion before you go on a mission. And while you're at the mansion, you can walk around. She has like a garden maze that you can just kind of walk through and spend like 20 minutes achieving nothing out of it. But it's just there to explore and distract you. Or you can just jump around the mansion, climbing up different floors and hopping out windows. It's just stuff to kill time before you go to missions.
Yep, you can do all of that in this as well.
I mean, it's a version of that, but imagine someone's also trying to kill Laura with a katana. You kind of got it.
Yes.
Okay. And now, are there people pursuing you while you're trying to kill your target?
Not if you do it right.
Okay. Yeah. It's all about the stealth. Like I'm thinking of, what was it, Tenchu? Remember that game back in the day?
Yeah.
You sneak up, and then it's like, once you're discovered, then everybody kind of flocks at you.
That's
kind of thing.
More of it. So putting on disguises is really kind of like crucial part of the game. Like the interesting dynamic of that is like, so working your way through a hotel, when you're just kind of wearing your normal clothes, there's certain parts of the hotel that people won't look twice at you, but other parts of the hotel that are just off limits and employees only, people sort of notice you and kind of chase you right away. And then, so if you manage to kind of like, to choke out a bellhop or a cook, there's other parts of the hotel that you can largely sort of walk through without having any kind of problem at all. But one of the challenges, one of the things that kind of makes it interesting is you'll see as if you disguise yourself, say, as a cook, and you head into the kitchen area, the majority of the other cooks won't look twice at you, but there'll be like a senior cook who in the game is supposed to kind of know his staff a little bit better than anyone else. And there'll be one or two characters like that who, if they do see you, will see through the disguise like right away.
Okay.
But then when it gets really interesting, so let's say that there's kind of like a cadre, like mercenaries that kind of come to the hotel and they're doing some like security patrol. You could kind of do the same thing if you get like one of the guard disguises. You could kind of maybe come into the kitchen, and like the way that these whether people can pick you out or not pick you out based on the disguise that you're wearing is extremely well thought out. It's extremely thematic in the game. So like if you come in as a guard and none of the cooks can sort of pick you out because they look at you and say, well, we know this security is supposed to be here because they were hired by like the owner of the hotel. So nobody looks at you. But then if you actually go to kind of like, where like the main guard outpost is, again, there may be like a couple seniors who kind of like take one look at you and be like, we don't actually know what that guy is. So that's one of the really, really fun and fascinating dynamics of the stages is sort of figure out what combination of disguises in what parts of the map will sort of kind of get you where. How will people respond to you?
It's funny because you're describing that, and I imagine myself playing, and I get like a security costume on, and then I go over to one of the cooks, and then I like butt them in the head with the edge of my gun, and I'm just like, make me some soup. And they're like, he's a authority figure, so we have to listen to him. And the guy's just bleeding into the soup, and I'm just like, clean yourself up.
Yeah.
No, that's not. Is that not how it works?
No, I mean, like you're
That's how I'll make it work for me.
now you're saying this. I'm like, should we have pitched this like the game to Eric? Maybe maybe
made a
this is
terrible
the thing that
mistake.
finally.
You're like, look, whatever you do in your own house with your family, don't bring that into the game.
Right.
Just don't. Yeah.
Whatever you do in
Don't
your extremely
desecrate
cold basement. So anyway, the Hitman game, a lot of fun. Andy, to your point, the only thing I'm kind of curious about is so like you said, in these games, the Hitman is kind of a blank slate, kind of a cipher. I've not watched the 2007 Hitman movie that we're going to be covering probably next week, but the casting is really kind of interesting to me because they got Timothy Olyphant, which as an actor, I say this as like a huge fan of Justified, is only charisma, is only personality, is just one of the, it's just one of just with like an actor and a character with so much sort of just sort of humor and swag and everything else. So like the choice of him to play Agent 47 in the Hitman movie certainly was an interesting one. So that'll be.
I can say without spoilers or anything like that. I watched it for the movie for the first time. I'd never seen it before, but I watched it. Maybe it was earlier this week, I think, or maybe it was over the weekend or something like that.
Right.
All of the things that you associate with him as an actor really don't show themselves at all in this movie.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Did he shave his head for the role?
It looks like it.
Mm.
Okay.
It looks like it. Yeah, it looks like it's a legit shaved head, not just like a bald cap or anything.
Yeah.
And this is a man with extremely good sort of facial features, but it just
Yep.
Casting was kind of surprising. I guess.
It's a weird choice. It's a weird choice.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, so that's it, man. Let's move on to our open swim discussions. And Eric, we had on schedule you're leading us, so
Sure.
give us your question, and we're going to put 30 minutes on the clock.
All right. Freeze. Yeah, sure. So when you mentioned you wanted to come up with a topic for this, I thought about something that I think about throughout the day, every single day, and it comes down to collecting. What I do is I have these filters on eBay that I check. It's like a weird thing that I do where it's like, if there's something that I want, something that I'm collecting, I'll go on and I'll check eBay maybe like 10 times a day, 15 times a day to see if the thing that I want came up and what the price is.
It's just almost kind of like a bit of just like a habitual sort of like I want to do something blankly online for like 30 seconds.
It is. It's kind of like, when you're doing work and then you get distracted and you're like, oh, hey, I need to pay that bill. Did I get that email from that person about this thing? It's just like, I'm like, okay, eBay, the app's on my phone. I'm like, click on the things that I saved. Is there anything new that came in? Okay, click on that. What's the price? What's the condition? What's the shipping costs? How many people have liked it? Is it a bid situation? Is it a buy with an offer, attached to it?
It's a little mental mini vacation.
Yeah, it's a weird thing that I get obsessed with. And it's usually when I get stuck in this headspace where I'm into collecting a certain thing. And so that's what I want to bring to this is I want to talk to you guys kind of about when you were younger, is there anything that, like, what first got you into collecting? What was something you collected when you were younger? And then what are your collecting habits now?
Sure.
So do you want me to kick it off? I can kick it off.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go for it.
When I was younger, I was really into collecting comic books. Mostly it was Marvel comic books at first. I also was collecting Batman comics for a while. And then when I was in high school, I started getting all different kinds of stuff. I was really into Image comics with like Spawn, the Max. I had all the original Max comics,
Nice.
any of those Image comic series, and then I was also getting Savage Sword of Conan magazines. Me and my buddies, we would make sure that we got all the. There would be, I think, there's like 2 or 3 different ones that would come out every month, and we would make sure to get all the issues, and then we'd exchange them between each other and read them, or read them at like sleepovers and stuff like that. And then later on, I got into like Japanese comics, which it would be just like a regular comic book, like Marvel comic book, except it'd be
So
like
what were the original like Rama 1/2
Rama
or
One
Dragon
Half was
Ball
one
or-
of them. Yeah, anything by Rumiko Takahashi. She did Rama 1/2 or Urusei Yatsura. This is stuff that they have anime for on like Netflix, if you're curious.
Very, very famous, very kind of
Yeah.
iconic. Like, famous enough to have made it to the States in the 90s.
Yep.
Right.
And then I was even getting books whenever they came out, like Ghost in the Shell, Alita Battle Angel, a bunch of different ones. But I still remember I used to go once or twice a month to my local comic store, and I would go and I'd have comics pulled for me. But I'd also go check on the shelves, especially when they're doing like Marvel. They'd have like, I don't know, this X-Men event or something, and I'd be like, okay, I got to get all the various like issues in the different X-Men, spin-offs and stuff like that, like X-Force, X-Factor, X-Men. Get the annual as well, so I get all the tie-ins. Yeah, and I was super obsessed with that, and that actually haunted me like later in life too, when I started making money again and I started getting back into Image comics. But yeah, I kind of grew out of that at this point. I stopped buying individual comics because it's so expensive. If you buy comics now, it's the
So
going rate is
what
$4 or
was the thing about like
$5
getting older that sort
issue.
of slowed you down fundamentally? Was it just kind of just running out of space, or being like, I don't quite have time for the?
Part of it's space. I think the big thing is I have really short attention span. Especially, I think maybe like Netflix or like streaming services ruined me, where they'll just put like a whole season of a show on, and you just watch all the episodes back to back, or you watch a few a night. For comic books, I was completely content back in the day reading, an issue and waiting a month and being like, oh, what happens next? And I reached the point as I got older where I'm like, I just kind of want to read the whole story arc. I want to see everything that happens. Why the hell am I waiting 6 months to read about something that, if I had them all together, I could read in like, half an hour, 45 minutes. Also the cost, like it doesn't make any sense. You end up buying, say, a typical story arc for Image Comics would be like 6 issues. Each one's like $4, $5. So you're talking like $30 when you can just go buy the graphic novel online for I don't know, like $15. It's like, or you just buy a companion, not companion. You can buy a compendium, which you'll get 50 issues, and that will be under $50.
Right. So it's comic books sort of being kind of one of your big sort of fascinations for a collection, and I also know that you are a very passionate fan for kind of retro games, particularly sort of like original generation Nintendo games as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm really into right now for eBay, is buying games off of, like, buying old Nintendo games. I just picked up the game the other day. What was it? Faxanadu?
Oh, sure.
Faxanadu? No?
I like very, very well. I rented it over, I think, like a spring break back in about like 89 or 90, and played it almost all the way into the end.
Yeah, it was one I remembered my uncle had let me borrow. So my uncle was the person that introduced me to, what Nintendo and Ghost and Goblins and a bunch of those early games. And I remember he had Faxanadu, and I saw it at his house, and I was like, what is this? It looks, because it's like a Zelda 2 clone. It's like an adventure game, side-scrolling.
There's a very complicated magic system in it.
Map.
I think
the
story
got
is kind of
magic,
weapons,
armor. It's kind of like an RPG, but you don't go around on like a map and bump into things and do turn-based stuff. It's just like an action RPG.
Right. A little closer to Castlevania 2, kind of like jumps.
Sure. Yeah. That's a good comparison. I guess there's a handful of those. Like Battle of Olympus was one. A link
The game that Andy truly reviled, Deadly Towers, I think is kind of like roughly the same.
Deadly Towers. Oh, that one was that's a gem.
What a shit that game was.
Well, but Andy, let's go to you real quick. Kind of childhood fascinations for collecting, adulthood fascinations for collecting.
So, truth be told, I've never been a huge collector. And it's not for lack of interest in things. It's just always been like, I guess something like that Eric said, like my attention span doesn't really allow for collecting, because by the time I've started to amass a certain number of things, I've already lost interest in that thing and I've moved on to something else. So I looked at this a little bit differently. For me, rather than, so action figures is a perfect example. When I was a kid, I had just an absurd amount of action figures, but it wasn't like they were all G.I. Joe or they were all Thundercats or they were all, it was like I had a little bit of everything. And then, and then I made my own fun out of that with, it's G.I. Joe against the DC superheroes, or it's, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles against He-Man, that kind of stuff. So I had a ton of action figures. The closest I've ever come to like a true collection where I would like kind of not necessarily seek certain things out, but baseball cards.
Okay.
Which is interesting because I have almost no interest at this point in sports, one. And two, when I was collecting baseball cards, I didn't even really like baseball.
Really?
Yeah, I've never actually really liked baseball. I think baseball is boring.
I would do the same thing. I would get packs of baseball cards and stuff like that, trying to get all of like the Red Sox players for like that season or something. Which you would never get because you just open up and you're like, I don't know who this is. I don't know who this is. Free gum.
Yep. So I have, and actually I still have a huge, huge to me. It wouldn't be huge to a true baseball card collector, but probably 5,000 or 6,000 baseball cards in my,
Really?
yeah.
Wow.
But here's the thing though, and this is why, and I guess we get into talking about this a little bit afterwards when we talk about selling the old collections. But as it turns out, the period of time that I was amassing these huge quantities of baseball cards, so was everybody else. And so that basically makes it so they're worthless, totally worthless.
Yeah.
People were printing more. People were they were printing more, but people were also collecting more. Didn't kind of the similar thing happen in the comic industry?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry. What was the question?
It did kind of like a similar thing happen in the comic industry when people sort of started realizing that kind of like sort of like these first generation comics started kind of going for like a lot of money. Wasn't there actually kind of an uptick of sales and an uptick of printing that kind of resulted from like those sales? And it's a lot harder to it's a lot harder to have like a collection that's worth any money these days.
I don't know about like back in the day, but I mean nowadays what they always do is it depends what the series is. An example. If you happen to get the first printing of Walking Dead, it was a very, very limited printing because it was a zombie comic book. Robert Kirkman was really interested, and he had this whole big story he wanted to put out with many issues, and so he puts it out, and it sells okay. And then as additional issues come out, it starts garnering like a pretty decent sized fan base. But if you happen to get that first printing, which maybe they only made, under 10,000 comics. I mean, if you look at it online on eBay right now, if you have like a mint condition that's graded or something like that, it's worth $10,000 plus dollars.
Seriously.
Wow.
So, I mean, and there's been so many reproductions and additional printings of that first issue that are out there that you can get your hands on that. I mean, I have a copy of one, but I think it was like, I don't know, 20th anniversary reprint or something like that, which is worth 30,
if you happen to kind of get lucky and sort of and get like first runs of a thing that you don't know at the time, but then becomes like a mega phenomenon later on down the line, then they can be like worth like a little bit more.
Something cool I did though is when I started watching Walking Dead when the show came out at AMC, and I instantly, I was like, this is great. I'm like instantly loved it. I went out and I got a subscription to it, and at that time, I mean, it was still early in the show, so a bunch of the comics, it just happened to be. I think I started is maybe like issue 60 or something like that, or 70. They ended up making close to 200 issues. But at that time, they hadn't introduced all the characters that people came to know and love in the show, especially in its full run, the TV show. And so I still have like the first appearance of Negan.
Oh, sure.
Which he didn't come out until much later in the show. And I remember they had this, around that time, they released this, I think it was the second printing of his first appearance and then his team. They ended up having this like 5-part, it's like 5 covers that go together, where it just shows Negan holding up his bat that's covered in barbed wire and it's all bloody.
And
So
then
this
is well ahead of like what an iconic image it sort of became.
Yeah, it was more kind of like, hey, we hit issue 100. So as an anniversary type thing, like this big achievement, we're going to make these cool additional printings that all go together and make this awesome picture that you could just put up somewhere.
And then there was a super specialty cover where it's like Negan holding up a bat, and then Billy Butcher comes out and he's like, "Oh, you always been a right cunt."
That's my boy.
Well, let me speak to just like a little bit of just kind of childhood collecting stuff for me. Like I was thinking about this for like a long time. Growing up, money was kind of like a bit tight in the house, and we never really got too much into collecting things because like a lot of the stuff that we're sort of like interested in. I mean, like I remember when we kind of come up, like a new Nintendo game, for example, was a once a year thing, or like a new comics was like if I knew comic book or graphic novel, if I really saved up my money from kind of picking up mail or babysitter jobs or something like that, was maybe kind of once or twice a year. I think totally for a Nintendo, we owned 5, maybe 6 games, and then for Super Nintendo, we only owned kind of 2 games for like the entire kind of course of the run. So I always had in my mind, I would love to be a collector, and I would love to, I would love to just have every comic book of something that I like, that I like, or I would love to have just like a massive library of Nintendo games. I remember being so jealous of a couple of my high school friends of just like just these shelves and shelves of like Nintendo games that like their parents would sort of buy for them. Now, as I was kind of coming up, my father was also like a very big baseball fan, and he was especially like a really passionate collector of this is like a little bit different, but baseball audio tapes. My father had a goal of getting a cassette tape audio recording of every World Series games ever played in history. Wow. And also as many of the playoff games as he could kind of get his hands on as well. And I don't know that he got there completely, but he was working on this thing for like a really, really long time. And you go up to like the, just like the farmhouse attic, and Dad would have like this little kind of corner tucked away, and just shelves and shelves of like all these individually labeled sort of baseball like audio tapes. He would get into them, he just he would kind of trade them with friends. And then when we got the internet in the house for the first time, he ended up kind of meeting like all these people off of kind of bulletin board services, and they end up kind of like sort of trading together. And this was the thing that Dad was fascinated with. Dad was obsessed with it. And then one day, my dad was just like, done. My father was so into just these audio tapes, and he spent so much time on it, and he had such a huge collection, and he kind of built this whole community around it. And then one day, he was just like, you know what? Fuck audio tapes. Fuck collecting these World Series games. Like, why did I spend this much time on this? Why did I why was I obsessed with this for like such a long time? He kind of boxed everything up, and he hasn't kind of touched it like ever since then. And that.
And then he's like, "Oh my God, I have children, and they're how old?" Hey, little
Get back out of the trees, Papa.
You guys like baseball?
Yeah.
They're like, no.
Do you guys remember the 2002 Spike Jonze and Charlie Kaufman movie adaptation that was with
Yes.
Nicolas Cage and Meryl Streep?
Yep.
Yeah, maybe a top 10 movie for me. Some I absolutely love. But there was this character I think Chris Columbus played called John LaRouche, and he has a quote in that movie about collecting that when I saw this, it really kind of stuck with me, and I got it pulled up here. Okay, look, I'll tell you a story. All right, I once felt deeply, profoundly in love with tropical fish. Had 60 goddamn fish tanks in my house. I skin dived to find just the right ones. Anisotremus virginicus, Holencanthus salarius, Chathodon capistratus, you name it. And then one day I say, fuck fish. I renounce fish. I vow never to set foot in that ocean again. That's how much fuck fish. And I kind of saw that, and that's kind of like it. Like I immediately kind of thought of my dad with that, like in his baseball tape. Yeah, Papa. The thing I've always kind of struggled with the idea, kind of like having collection is to me, even as a teenager, like that collecting kind of big chunks of stuff. That always felt like what the end point of it was actually going to be. So when I bought my first ever video game system with my own money, it was a PlayStation. I sort of got it late junior of high school. Part of this also was like a money thing, and part of this was like a free time thing. But I had in my head, like, I'm not going to have a video game collection. Like, I'm going to limit myself to 2 games, and I'm going to finish those games, or I'm going to come as near as possible to finishing those games. And when I finish a game, I'm going to sell it. I'm going to use the money I get from selling it to like buy a new game, and it's just going to be like a one in, one out thing for as long as I have like this PlayStation. Yeah. So that's kind of a lot there. But Ken, what do you guys think about that?
I was gonna say you're like jogging a lot of things for me. Like when I was a kid, I think one thing I don't know why it came to me is when I was in 4th grade. It's 3rd grade or 4th grade. I remember I went out to recess. It was in a new class. There's new kids in my class that I wasn't, none of my friends were in class. I go out to recess and I'm like, okay, what do I do? And I remember I saw these kids, they were breaking rocks out on the edge of the school.
Just breaking rocks.
Just breaking rocks. They had these giant rocks in their hand, probably about like 10-pound rocks, and they're smashing smaller rocks.
What is in the Holden groundwater? This is a question I've asked before, but
lots and lots of lead and just a little bit of fluoride.
Okay.
And so they're breaking rocks, and I'm like, "What are you guys doing?" They're like, "Oh, we're looking for quartz." And I'm like, "Well, like, what have you found so far?" And they have this big box next to them, cardboard box, and they pull out, it's just like tons of rose quartz. And so I'm looking, and I was fascinated, and I'm like, that's so cool. It looks like diamonds. Like, it looks like it's shiny. It looks like it's worth money. And so I'm like, can I break rocks with you? And they're like, I don't know. It's our kind of club, and we already have 3 members. And the one, it was 2 guys and a girl. And
it's 4 members, but Tony is playing Ladybug at the moment. So
Tony's in the middle of a Ladybug game. It seems like he's really into it. Hey. The one girl in the group was just like, 3's an odd number anyways, so let's let him in. And they're like, they made me, we had this pact that I wouldn't give rocks to anybody. We'd keep all the rocks for ourselves. And then the guys that are like that had been doing it this whole time, they have first dibs on certain types of rocks. But the whole thing is get as much like quartz as you can. But if you're able to get like mica or like pyrite or something that's different, then you would put that aside for yourself. And so it was kind of like I would have that I forget, I don't think it's National Geographic, but you could get these like books of of just
sort of break down kind of
like a
rocks
rock
and sort
book.
of rare minerals.
Yeah, and so I had one of those books where I'd sit there and then I'd break the rocks at recess and I'd flip through the book to try to locate what type of rock it is. It's usually like sandstone or something, but I'd be like, oh, what is this? Sandstone or like quartz? Oh my god, or anything. So
this is fascinating. I have never heard about like this part of
I
your life.
had 2 giant cardboard boxes in my bedroom at home, and just filled with rocks. And I remember my mom be like, "Why are you keeping the rocks in the house?" And I'm like, "Look," and I'm bringing home more every day.
Yeah.
And they got so filled with like there were so many rocks at one point in my bedroom. My mom just started dumping them when I wasn't at home. And then she just reached a point where she's like, "Okay, you can save like 20 of them." And so I had a reduced cardboard box, but then I also
every memory Eric like kind of dregs up from his childhood. It's always at least this good. He's like, oh, I just remembered.
Here's a better one. Okay. Did you guys ever collect coins?
No.
Did you ever get those books where it's like, okay, collect the quarters from like 1980 through like 2000 or something like that? I don't know if they do it every 10 years, but you can fill up a book with quarters. And they tell you all the different years and if it's like an A.
Or you can get like a thing you can hang up and like every year there's like a different release of like a state quarter. So
yeah, they eventually did something like that. But they had it for pennies. They had it for nickels, dimes, quarters. I don't remember who used to buy them for me, but I would get those. And so what I would do is anytime I got spare change, I would throw that in a cardboard box. I just had a lot of cardboard boxes in my house. And so we were collecting coins. And I had one box that I filled with pennies. I only put pennies in there because I had a bunch of those like penny books and I was trying to fill them up. And so whenever my dad came home from work and he went to the gas station, he would throw like the change in the box. I'd sift through it, try to fill out my book. And at one point I had just this big box. Like it's a box. It's maybe like, I don't know. I say big box, but it's like maybe like 2 feet by 2 feet. And it's like filled to the top with pennies. And
that's a lot of pennies.
That's a lot of pennies.
It's a ton of pennies.
A very serious amount of pennies.
It was so many pennies that I would like. It would Scrooge McDuck it, where I'd put my hands inside and get the feel of them, and I pull them out, and they're all like just
take out his pants and his underwear first, and then
I dip just the tip of my dong in there and just swirl it around like a fine cappuccino with foam on top.
Let's go to Andy real quick because we only got a few minutes left.
Let me just end this one quickly. What I ended up doing is I took the coins one night. I thought it'd be fun and poured them on my face. And some went in my mouth, and I accidentally swallowed 2 pennies. I was in my bed. I dumped it. I swallowed 2. Okay. I went to my parents. They freaked out. They brought me to the hospital because they thought I was gonna stop breathing. I was going to choke on pennies. And we went to the doctor.
Dying right now.
I'm in the emergency room. And they're talking to me. And they're like, look, you'll be fine. My parents are freaking out. They're like, he's going to die. What are we going to do? I'm like, oh my God. Am I going to just stop breathing at some point because I have pennies stuck in my throat? And the doctor's like, it's okay. It'll go through your intestines. It will come out the other end. If you get a blockage and you get constipated, let me know. Otherwise, you should be good. I kid you not. Every day for 2 weeks, every time I took a shit, my parents would say, all right, step aside. My mom would come in with a fork. She would mash up the poop, looking for the pennies. And then she'd be like, okay, no dice. And then she'd clean off the fork in the sink. And then flush it.
Was it the same fork at least? And then she threw it away when she was done with this
she just threw it in the sink and washed it with the dishes later. It's no big deal.
Ugh. I don't like that story.
So later, I was eating tiramisu that night. Okay. No, I'm kidding. So she ended up finding the pennies. So the pennies did come out, and when she found them, I went and cleaned them off, and I put them in my collecting book.
Okay.
I mean, you got to keep those.
Yeah. The shit pennies?
Yeah, hell yeah.
It's like coffee beans. It only makes them better.
That story brought my bronchitis back. Andy, I don't know. Talk about collecting a few minutes. I
Andy, don't talk about coins.
You know what? Mine is not going to be nearly as fun as that anyway. So I'm glad that one went long. All right.
Yeah.
So for mine, wait, talk about collecting or talk about my.
I don't know. What are we talking about?
Wrap up something non-completely insane on collecting.
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 Well, okay. So I guess
other than baseball cards, anything either as a kid or as an
What do you
adult.
collect now?
Yeah.
He's like dirty forks.
Yeah.
Shitty forks.
Shit pennies.
Shit pennies.
Now my collections have, I guess the amount of things that I collect has probably, I guess, technically increased, but I don't have as much of it. So like guitars is one thing that I have too many of, but I also don't have like one of those guitar collections that is absurd and like, 30 guitars. I think I own 6 guitars or something like that. Plus like the 90 that I own at the store, but that's a different story.
Right.
Sneakers. I love sneakers. But I'm not one of those sneakerheads that has like a closet full of every pair of Jordans.
Like the Jordans 398. Like when he was,
How many
I mean, like,
pairs of Asics do you have?
I have a couple of pairs of Jordans. I have like maybe 4 pairs of Vans. I have a couple of pairs of Converse. A couple of pairs of Nikes. So yeah, I mean, I don't have like an insignificant number of sneakers, but I also don't have like a stupid amount of them.
I only have 1 pair of shoes for each purpose I use them for.
Yeah,
so I don't have more than one.
Yeah. Okay. So then, but by that, I guess level, I'm well above you. Concert posters, like if I, again, like when I go to the concerts that I go to, the posters are usually the first thing to sell out. So rarely do I end up getting them, and then I have to figure out, do I want to pay the money online to get that one because it's been inflated to like $300? And the answer is 100% of the time, no. And then so I end up not having all that many of those either. So it's like, I don't really even have collections anymore. I just have like a couple of things that I really like that I would love to have more of, but can't really afford.
Yeah. You have these pools of things that you really, really like. You pick a new thing up from kind of time to time, but in the interest of spending money, of space. For me personally, also kind of in consideration, like the diminishing returns of the thing, kind of what I still talk about. Like I have, so the only thing I have, even what you would sort of call like a remote collection of as an adult, are my board games. And this is a relatively kind of recent sort of hobby that I've kind of gotten into. We talked about it on the on the spinoff show like a little bit, but even now on my PlayStation, I only have 4 actively installed games. On the PlayStation, I have Hitman. I have the 2 most recent Leisure Suit Larry games that were made by like a German studio that I got for like $2 a piece, like on a mega sale. Supposedly really pretty entertaining and good. Those are sitting there, and I have another indie game called Udwan, I think, which is it's a Swiss developed black and white horror game about kind of returning to the Swiss kind of like sort of mountain countryside, kind of like sort of just a kind of Heidi territory to kind of reconnect with your family, like after the death of your grandfather, and things kind of start. It's kind of like a Lynchian, things kind of sort of start like kind of spiraling apart gradually. But those are the only. That's the entirety of my video collection, like currently sitting there.
What was the? I'm trying to think. It was the Star Wars miniatures. What was the series that you collected? All of them, or just about collecting?
Oh, yes. So the only thing I'm really doing as an adult, like I said, it's the so my board game collection. I have the whole thing cataloged on Board Game Geek. I was just kind of taking a look. I have 149 logged board games on Board Game Geek right now.
Wow. And
not all of those are full-size board games. Like this is some sort of like expansions or sort of kind of mini things that you add to it. But when I first started getting into board games, like one of the I started to become curious about kind of miniature painting, and there was a series of kind of very well-regarded Star Wars games called Imperial Assault, published by this company called Fantasy Flight. And I initially learned how to do miniature painting by like a YouTube series by this YouTube artist guy, a guy named Zarastro, who started working through all the Star Wars miniatures, like on this particular line. And my goal is to eventually paint all of them. I've finished maybe about kind of 40 or 50 of these things currently, and I probably have somewhere between 100 to another 150 just sitting in my closet at the moment.
Wow.
Yeah, but you know the distinction there for me, and at least the way I kind of reconcile that is, it's not just something I'm buying and then kind of putting on shelf. It's something I'm buying. It's still taking up a lot of space. I'm probably never going to get to anything, but at least it's when I take like a Wookiee miniature out of like a packet or something like that, I'm going to then put my own thing into it, my own touch into it. You know, spend a lot of time, because these things take a lot of time and a lot of work to paint, especially myself not being like a natural artist for like any kind of stretch. Like it takes me forever to kind of even finish like a smaller kind of simple one of those things. But it's collecting that to me feels a bit less like, oh, that's going to be an empty thing at the end of it, because at least it's collecting, plus I get to use like a little bit of my own like personal creativity.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Justify purchase. I mean, it helps. Yeah. I mean, same thing with like Marvel United. It's like they have these Kickstarters, which they kept upping the price, but you order it, you get these like little mini. I bought these because my kids were really interested in playing this game. You get like all these different like Marvel character miniatures, and if you support the Kickstarter, as opposed to just buying the game when it comes out later on Amazon or something like that, you get all these like Kickstarter exclusive figures.
Right. So very, very obscure Marvel sort of.
So that pushed me where it's like I bought it when the first series came out, Marvel United, just like the basic set, and that was maybe $250, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm spending $250 on this, but I'm getting like 90 miniatures. And, you know, my kids are still young, that they can just play with them and just make them fight. Even if we don't play the game, which seems a little complicated, they could just play with the miniatures, or we can paint them or whatever we want to do. But then they're like, okay, now we have the X-Men campaign come out. And I was like, oh, shit, they've got all the X-Men. And I love the X-Men as a kid.
Well, here's the Fantastic Four campaign.
Yeah. Here's
like the Dark Universe campaign, or here's like all the weird characters from space that nobody knew about prior.
Yeah, the multiverse was the latest one. And here's the thing, I saw the campaign on Kickstarter, and I'm like, I'm done. I'm not going to buy any more. My kids are older now. They don't give a shit. But then, you know, I showed Ray. I was like, hey, look, they're doing this. And he's like, oh, that's cool. You should buy it. And I was like, oh, my God, it's like $400 now. And you still get the same amount of figures. Inflation blows. So I pass on it. I have like later on, I start thinking about it. I was like, well, shit, I'm reading reviews. People said it actually plays better than like the previous versions. So I buy the whole Kickstarter thing, like all the exclusives and everything, off a board game site in Canada. And I have to deal with the whole thing of having it imported and all that kind of stuff. And it takes like a month to get here, which is ridiculous because it's so heavy.
Thank Christ those things are made out of aluminum.
Yeah. And I finally get it, but because of the exchange rate, I actually end up spending close to like $450.
Jesus.
Guess where it is now?
In a closet?
Figures are in a shoebox, and the games are in the attic.
Yeah. With a small number of exceptions, we can mention at this point just wonderful Uncle Johnny, and like every once in a while he'll pick up a couple those miniatures, take it back to Las Vegas, and they'll come back fully painted.
They do. It's great. Yeah. It's Ray has them all on a shelf next to his bed. So,
but it's the kind of thing like you probably got like there's probably your collection is probably 400, 500 those miniatures, and I think over years I finished 6, maybe 7 of these things as gifts for his kids.
Yeah, the funny thing is he has a bunch of them on the shelf, but amongst all of them, he has Silver Surfer, and that comes, you know, they press it in like silver plastic, so he's already silver, But Ray just has those next to all the ones Uncle Johnny painted. If you ask him, he's like, "Oh yeah, that one's painted too." Wow, it's professional.
Yeah. Children are a blessing. Anyway, so the fascinating topic. I think it's something we should definitely kind of maybe, circle back to at some point. Andy, why don't we sort of move on to your open swim?
All right, we can blow through mine. So I struggled coming up with an idea, and thankfully Johnny is full of ideas.
I do not sleep.
Yeah, maybe to a frightening extent. But anyway, you threw out a bunch of ideas, and the one that I thought was the most fun was, what animals would we embiggen, shrink down, or otherwise genetically modify so we can have them? And then subsequent, describe what the best in show type competitions would be like.
Right.
So I have to be completely honest with you guys here. I spent a bunch of time thinking about which animals I want to have as pets, and far less time putting together the best in show pitch aspect of it. Because it became a lot more fun for me to just be like, oh, it would be really cool to have one of those. But so something that Johnny, you mentioned is that there's some animal that you have in mind that if it was like, just slightly less,
20% more docile. So when I say like sort of genetic engineering, I'm sort of, I personally at least was kind of thinking and talking more kind of grounded tweaks as opposed to kind of giving like penguins tentacles and fire breath kind of thing.
Oh shit! Well, hold on. I gotta
read off the list.
Wait. Pause the pod again.
Keep the tentacles, no fire breath.
So
this is a massive dragon. Good Christ!
To lead it off, I did not. Oh man, I didn't even think about mythological creatures. I don't have any of those. But anyway,
wow.
So I guess I'll just read off my list real quick, and then we can take it from there.
Right.
The first one that came to mind, and I honestly don't know why, is dinosaurs.
Yes, I thought about that too.
Okay, good. So I'm not the only one. So I just think it would be awesome and also weird as hell to have like, a mini triceratops running around the house. But again, then you got to deal with like, if you had a mini T-Rex, you'd have to take some of the aggression away from it. And then it's not as cool because then it's not really a T-Rex. Anyway, I'm overthinking. My favorite animals in general that are not like domesticated are, the quote unquote big cats, tigers, lions, jaguars, panthers, like all of that stuff. I just think they're incredible. If I could have like a semi-docile, cheetah that was just my buddy that I just hung around with all the time, that'd be amazing.
So where did you land watching Tiger King?
I didn't watch Tiger King.
Really?
Never watched it.
Okay.
What? Everybody was
Never
watching
saw
that.
a second of it.
Wait.
Never
So
interested me.
would you would shrink the cheetah down so it's like a size of like a domestic?
Well, I mean,
cat,
that's
or-
definitely the most that's the most practical
Yeah.
way of doing it.
You can
But no, I
get
think I'd like to have a
cats
full-grown
that
cheetah.
look like cheetahs already, pretty much. There's like these Egyptian cats you can kind of get
Yeah,
that
they're
are
like speckled.
yeah.
But part of what makes a tiger cool is that it's friggin' massive.
You could tape a mane to your cat's head.
Well, I don't have a cat, number one. But
If you had a cat.
right. So yeah, raccoons, squirrels,
Raccoon.
bears.
You could tape a raccoon to your cat's head.
I think raccoons are awesome. I mean, they got those little fingers.
Yeah, that's a good point. I like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Raccoons, you feed them like
They're great.
you could just keep giving them apples, John.
You could take you could take the raccoons on heists.
Yeah.
They already got the disguise.
Oh,
they
God.
got
Ready to
the
go.
tiny fingers, good for picking locks.
So there's a kid's book. It's called Secret Pizza Party. Have you
Yeah.
ever heard about it? And it's about a raccoon who he's just like his dream is to be invited to a secret pizza party because raccoons love pizza.
Sure.
So I mean, how awesome would that be? You just order Domino's, and then like the raccoon comes out and he's like, "Hey, I made some lemonade."
That'd
you
be
guys
great.
Sit down.
Is this different from Tanuki-san Pizza? Yeah, like this.
I think you're just stringing words together.
Well, not English
They're
words.
just
Hold on.
not-
Okay.
Yeah.
You two keep talking. I'm looking for this book.
This is a thing. This is the thing. Yeah, I love. I mean, so I hate raccoons that are going through my trash on trash day, but
Yeah.
other raccoons that are just like, hey, I'm a chill raccoon. I'll hang out in your house, and as long as you give me food, put water
Yeah.
out for me.
I don't even mind if they go through my trash, to be honest with you.
Really?
That's even
Yeah.
fine too.
I mean, what if they?
Morino pizza yasan.
What the hell is this?
Morino pizza yasan.
What is that?
The
Also
same
known
thing you're
as
talking about, or different?
Poco Poco in English.
Poco. Mm.
I'm
So
not familiar.
No, that's not what I'm talking about.
Different Japanese book about a raccoon that wants pizza.
No,
Got it.
this one's like an American book. It's pretty funny though. It's just he sneaks into it's like a Halloween party where they're all eating pizza and everybody has masks on, and so the raccoon walks in with like his like his fur on his face is like black around his eyes, so it looks like he's wearing a mask. So I think he's holding up like a stick next to his head or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it was funny.
This is why you could take them on heists.
Yeah, dragons also like tacos.
There we go. Wow.
That's a good book.
Hmm.
Red pandas, wombats,
Oh,
elephants,
Yeah.
binturongs, African wild dogs / African painted dogs are amazing.
Okay.
Sea otters, penguins, hyenas, wolves, foxes, skunks, koalas.
It sounds
If it weren't for-
complicated. Like they need all
Sure.
different kinds of habitats. So how are they all gonna like? Are you gonna just say like a handful of these like animals and just stick them in your house and see what happens?
I want
Each
them all.
one is going to get their own guitar. It's very exciting.
Yep, I want them all.
You could put them in balls. Like get these plastic balls that they can't
They
break
roll
out
around the house.
of. Kind of like big Easter eggs, and then stick
Yeah,
them
yeah.
in there. And then when you want to play with the raccoon, you're like, I summon you, Tanuki Pizza Raccoon. And just throw it at the wall, and he just falls.
Andy's going to get the most amazing
Just
true
limp.
crime documentary in a few years.
Yep, that's true. That's true.
You didn't
So,
realize
anyway.
you had to drill holes into the balls because they can't breathe.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's just
So if you're not getting the whole point here, I would basically anything that's got fur.
yeah.
for the
Because
most
I was
part-
going to say I'm only hearing mammals on this list, which is
Yeah. I don't need.
know. What's up?
I don't need bugs. I don't need invertebrates.
Uh-huh.
Although you do have dinosaurs, so there's a
Yeah,
reptile.
dinosaurs, that's
Sure,
fun.
sure.
Um,
How cool would that
that's
be
a-
to have like a big glass tank with like a sun lamp or something like that, and you have like little dinosaurs like
Mini
walking
dinos?
around, and I just thought that would be
Yeah,
so
dude.
cool.
Like a
That's a great
terrarium
idea.
kind of thing.
Yeah, like a
basically.
terrarium, and you gotta change it because it gets messy sometimes. But
Mhm.
or if
Yeah,
had,
if
like
once
a
you
little
introduce
pterodactyl
carnivore-
flying around the top, and eventually he has to land, and then he gets eaten.
yeah.
But
Although they were pretty
Little tree.
badass themselves. Pterodactyls. They were super predators.
yeah.
Scariest part of Jurassic Park 3, like the only real thing I remember from that movie is them
Yeah.
just running into the walking pterodactyl on the bridge. It was amazing.
Yeah. Yep.
I was thinking of sea animals. I don't know why they
Okay.
came to my brain. When I was a kid, I used to get like read like Ranger Rick or different magazines where they have like remember that zoo books? I had zoo
Yeah.
books.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
used to I loved looking at the one with sharks or whales. And so I always thought that'd be so cool to have like this aquarium. In my head it was like a pool full of because I couldn't picture how big they actually were, but I was like if you had a pool full of like, salt water and then you just had like sharks swimming around, kind of like your own aquarium. But just have it at your
Like
house.
in Austin Powers, sharks with freaking laser beams.
Sharks with friggin' laser beams.
There we go.
But I mean, even if you shrunk that down, so it's something that you could put, in your living room that you could look at, and you just see them all just kind of swimming around. Just fill it with krill, and then just the blue whale kind of just.
That'd be pretty awesome.
So it sounds like super relaxing, like a living screensaver,
Kind of, yeah. It seems like such an easy concept you could do if you had like your screensavers you put on your TV, where you could do like a Tamagotchi style thing. Where you can feed them, like virtually feed them or whatever, control it through like an app on your cell phone or something.
Right. Then you hear this whole epidemic in like South Korea, like people not leaving the house because they're so worried about like the screensaver pets. That's usually where it
Right. That would be a drawback.
Yeah.
As far as the best in show aspect of it, the only thing that I even sort of came up with was the idea of I'm in the middle of the big, the arena, the whatever, and all the animals are just snuggling with me. That's really all I care about.
Yeah.
I don't care if I win or not.
Lather your body in like butter, and they
Yep.
all just kind of cozy up and just lick it
Yep.
off you.
Wow.
That's all I want. I just want to hang out with animals.
And Eric comes running up. He dumps like a whole box full of pennies on everything.
Yeah, I'll just dump some pennies on there. Just don't eat any.
Yep.
Pennies from heaven.
That's all I got. What about you guys? Anything?
Like the big one for me, and this is my fault for falling for it, but YouTube the other day suddenly decided, let's show John just a bunch of stuff about cheetahs, and particularly kind of cheetahs in captivity.
Came back. Wow. Okay.
Cheetah sort of came back. So here's the thing about cheetahs. They are maybe like 100 years away from actual sort of like legitimate kind of domestication. There's a few different things about cheetahs. They're the only big cat variety that actually vocalizes the same way the domesticated cats do. So they purr, they meow. They aren't typically aggressive to humans. They are never aggressive to adult humans ever, because like they don't have the same ambush predator instinct that kind of characterizes like a lot of kind of like actual sort of big cats, like things like sort of like pumas, lions, kind of tigers, like whatever else. Like their style of hunting is basically chase something much smaller, wait for it to trip, and then kill it very, very quickly. They're not particularly strong animals. They don't have particularly powerful jaws, so they can't fight or grapple. Everything is kind of like speed, wear it down, knock out like the rabbit or vole or whatever else that we're kind of chasing as quickly as possible. They were actually kind of in ancient times, cheetahs were kept as pets by royalty in Saudi Arabia, and in Egypt and in India, and they were actually trained kind of like in the same way that the hunting dogs were kind of trained like back in the day.
Oh, wow.
There were never any kind of sort of sustained breeding programs over time. They still technically sort of do behave as kind of wild animals, but you see footage of cheetahs now that are raised in captivity and sort of bond with their trainers. I mean, they do essentially just kind of purr and meow and kind of can be petted like the same way that kind of like sort of regular kind of house cats like actually are. They are really, really stunning, really, really kind of beautiful animals. I say that as kind of a cat person, and I just they to me, I don't know if either you guys have ever seen a full-sized OG Maine Coon cat up close, but they are barely more terrifying. They are barely more terrifying like those
Maine
things.
Coons are. Yeah, I used to have a Maine Coon.
They're
They're huge.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess the next question is, if we did like a best in show, what would we settle on? Would it be mammals?
It would be the best in
with
show.
hair?
It would be sponsored by DoorDash.
DoorDash.
And it would be finding out how quickly like a trained cheetah, because if we're doing like a little genetic tweaking, I want to sort of bring the intelligence
So like
and kind of like
the obstacle course, right?
Yeah. The obstacle course, but they're at the end of the obstacle course are tacos, and then the cheetah, as quick as possible, has to bring me tacos back.
I mean, if they were dragons, then yes, they would do that, or they might eat them on the way.
Right.
That sounds like the absolute best possible pet you could have. A cheetah that brings you tacos, like
very, very quickly.
Dude,
That's it.
his delivery time, it's what is it, 3 seconds
5
or less?
can't be beat.
No.
We would sell
the whole
so
thing,
many
because
of those
DoorDash, like the cheetah will run off, come back with like kind of 3 like chicken stuffed tacos, and be like, "That's $57. Would you like to leave a tip for your cheetah?"
And the answer is always yes, because why wouldn't you?
You're right.
I just want to say I'm proud of you guys. By the way, nobody mentioned birds.
Yeah,
I'm glad birds didn't come up. They just shit everywhere. They're kind of noisy.
they're not good pets.
No,
not
they're
crazy
not
pets.
great. No, they don't
Yeah.
care about you. They'll peck out your eyes if you.
I'm glad nobody mentioned snakes. Like I took Shotokan karate in my freshman and senior year of like undergrad. Really liked it, like the exercise, liked how how coordinated I kind of felt like it made me. I learned to kind of count in Japanese. That was great. But I was just like, I was not that interested in kind of getting into the kind of the community side of karate, because I'm just like, all these people I'm taking classes with, they all seem like guys that would own snakes.
It's another Cobra Kai story again, isn't it?
Yeah.
You walk, they're like, all right, we're doing the snake pose. John, it's got to roll off the tongue. Come on.
Snakes
Snakes
man.
aren't good pets. They're just no.
No.
Yeah.
Good pets, not good people.
All right, so
No.
it's just a best in show where it's just cheetahs. We're just gonna have a bunch of cheetahs.
Yeah.
Pure.
Yeah, they're all just hanging out with us.
Not exclusively delivering tacos. We can kind of change it up. We can sort of go Indian. We can kind of go and anything that's kind of compact that can kind of be sort of bagged easily, like pizza.
Indian's tough. Are you going to pack it all up and like put it in a bag, so that it just runs over and grabs the bag and drags it back or something? Or unless it's like there could be an event where you're throwing naan like a frisbee and the cheetah has to retrieve it.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, because the other stuff is a little bit too soupy. It's a little too runny.
Just no
The
garlic.
cheetahs are going to have like little compartments, like the Saint Bernards who kind of do avalanche rescue in Switzerland, and they got like they got like the little tankard of just Armagnac that they
So
sort
the
of
cheetah runs over and it has like rice pudding in a little flask and just kind of.
Tell me you would
Take
not
a
watch
switch of that.
every Thanksgiving.
100% I would. I would watch it every day.
Look. If they had an event where the cheetah's chasing a turkey, done. We're done. That's it. That's my whole day. I'll sit down and watch
The
that.
pug would still win though.
You let off the pug. You let off a pug first, and the cheetah has to catch and bring back Milo.
It's like, oh, this year there's 2 turkeys. What's going to happen this time?
All right.
It'd be fun.
All right.
Fun.
Good stuff.
Well, that was fun. Let's kind of wind it down there, guys. Any closing thoughts? This was a silly one.
Yes.
It
was fun conversation.
Yeah. I'm just saying, John, if you happen to get a package next week that's moving around, and it's it meows like a domesticated cat, and it bounces around really fast, and there's tacos.
I'm just going to be stoked that my tacos finally.
Yeah.
Show up.
Enjoy your tacos.
I spent a long time because of bronchitis not leaving the house.
There you go.
Sweet. Gentlemen, that was a lot of fun. Next week, hopefully, Naveen will sort of get his whole questioning from Elon and the boys kind of
Get
straightened
his
out.
act together.
Yeah. Man, 2025. What a year that's been so far.
Oh yeah.
Next week, hopefully, we'll be covering the 2007 Hitman film starring Timothy Olyphant and the Bond girl from Quantum of Solace. Not particularly. I have actually. She has a kind of surprising nude scene in this movie. I have a very entertaining story about that. But I'll save that for the next pod. Yeah, look forward to it.
Is it okay if I watch the Chuck Norris movie, Hitman,
Chuck Norris.
that came out prior to that, maybe 2004?
As an addendum, or are you thinking you're just going to watch this? You're only going to watch the Chuck Norris one and then respond to every question and bit of conversation?
Pretty much, yeah. I just wanted to do it to be difficult.
Okay.
I didn't.
That actually sounds delightful and hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I'm in favor of it.
Right. Yeah.
It would be like what was that movie where it's like Jonathan Brandis, and then he's like climbing the rope, and he's like, "Oh, I don't know if I can make it," and he looks to his side, and it's Chuck Norris, and he's like, "Come on, Bobby, climb that rope, Bobby," and he's just like, "Yeah, fuck yeah, I'm gonna fucking do it, yeah." And then he just climbs up the rope, and he gets down, and he's just like, "Fuck all of you, I don't need any of you. Screw you, gym teacher." He's like, "Jenny, I don't need you. You're just a girl, yeah." And Chuck Norris is like, "Fuck yeah, Bobby, you did it. You're the best." And he's like, you know what? Let's make a movie about this. We'll call it Hitman.
Uh-huh.
And Jonathan Brandis is like, if I live that long.
Oh no!
It's this
My-
this
my
this
deepest
this this,
condolences
this
and
is just like the Hitman
apologies.
level I imagine. Well, it had too much Robitussin.
The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air's sister in that show, who was dating him
Viv.
at the time, wants an apology.
Okay. What Eric should do is he should come on the Hitman pod, having only watched like the Chuck Norris one, and we don't acknowledge it, we don't explain anything, we don't put any clarification in the episode notes. Eric watched the wrong movie. Let's do it like I was listening to like this Conan interview with Bill Hader, and they're talking about Bill Hader randomly showed up at Conan's place for like a party that he was throwing, and Hader came up to Conan. And Hader spent the entire party pretending he was a German guy who had dueled with Conan over the rights to marry Conan's wife. And Conan had won and maimed him in a duel. And Hader shows up. He doesn't tell Conan ahead of time. He doesn't. He walks up. He comes to the party. He's like, yes, O'Brien. I still cannot lift up my arm, you know. And then he looks at Conan's wife, and he's like, yes. You fought very well for her, Conan. Yes. and they're telling this story. Nobody else at the party knew what the fuck was going on.
Yeah.
But Conan was immediately like, he's pretending to be a German guy who got maimed while we were fighting to marry my wife. They just kept up the story like the entire time. Really amazing. Like, so we got to do that. Just to make it like a little spicy with Eric and like Chuck Norris.
I gotta say this. I looked it up because I was curious. The movie came out in 1991, and it was written and directed by Aaron Norris, who's the younger brother of Chuck Norris, and also worked on the series Texas Ranger.
Texas Ranger.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So it must be good. It has to be good. It was before maybe that inspired the game. Because it was called Hitman, so maybe they're like, if we make it the Hitman, and it's just like
it's like the Warriors are like, 1979, like they this is such a crazy idea to have whole cloth, and like, no, first version this was from like 600 BC.
like,
Human rights. We're just telling the same stories over and over.
Aaron Norris, after he got off that stint being in the lead singer of the band Stained, and he came up with this great concept for a movie, and from there it was just.
Andy's reached the point of just shaking his head and looking at his phone. So why don't we wrap up the episode?
I have nothing I can add to this at this point.
Andy, all I can say is, I'm on the outside. I'm looking in. No, that's not Creed.
Right.
No, Aaron Lewis. He can go fuck himself.
Yeah,
but that's a different podcast.
Yeah.
Look, he didn't have hair either, so he could have been the Hitman. Who knows?
Sure, could have been.
Watch out! Here comes the Hitman. Let's make a movie about this. This is a great.
He doesn't
idea.
have a bar. Aaron Lewis doesn't have a barcode on the back of his head, though. It's just like a Chiquita banana sticker.
Yeah,
That
would be on
guy just slaps it.
I'm feeling those lighters, man. I don't know.
Yeah, man, the Palladium's full tonight.
Okay, gentlemen, that was fun. For any listeners who have made it all the way to the end, we sincerely apologize.
Yeah.
But actually, you know what? The cuts Naveen is probably going to have to make for this one. This is probably only going to be like a 27-minute, like sort of post. So
fingers crossed.
Okay.
Yeah, hold out. You'll be here soon.
Yeah. So please remember, like, comment, subscribe. Gentlemen, closing thoughts. Any final things to say?
No.
I'm, as soon as we're done, going to
collect
Captain
coins.
America Brave New World. It's very, very exciting because featured in this movie, Harrison Ford is playing the president who, when he gets angry, turns into the Red Hulk. So that's going to be...
That's a little too close to home.
A little too close. He's good. He holds out. He's like,
alert.
the woke agenda.
I'm boycotting that movie because I don't like Anthony Mackie.
He's like, Medicaid. Smash.
Yep.
All right.
Well, enjoy that, Johnny.
Gentlemen, take care. I'll talk to you all in a bit.
All right.
See
later.
ya.
was a little Spanish flea.
Mori no pizza son. 2 pennies.